If you were to going through the procedure and seeing the needles and everything like that, what would you tell people who are scared of them?
Well, here's the thing. I haven't, like, when I did it, it was just, they drew blood. That was it.
Okay.
But I think it's the actual transplant process. So once you're determined to be a match, it's the what's next. I think that people are afraid of.
Right.
Am I gonna have to be out of work? Am I gonna have to go through surgery? Am I gonna have to go through anesthesia? All those kinds of things, I think, is a fear. And I do think, just from the past, it probably was more invasive. But technology's changed, people have changed, the whole process has changed, because it's very, like now when I've gone through the transplant process, it was very underwhelming to me, because I thought, oh, this is it?
Really?
I'm like, well, what this is it? So basically you have a Hickman bracket, and it is an oversized needle, but it's not going into me. The oversized needle is pushing the cells back into me through the Hickman bracket. Transplant through using someone else's cells, I imagine it's probably even less, I don't know. To me, it seems like it would be less invasive, but they made me have to go in and get marrow out of it. That part I don't know. But I've gone through the marrow analysis, and that really wasn't that bad either. I mean, you go in and you're out in the same afternoon.
And why do you think the minorities are not as willing to be donors?
Yes, and I do think it's what their parents have told them, what they think it might be. I do think it's just fear.
It's just fear.
And if you go back in time, who knows what was said way back when? Now that you know about some other things that have gone on in our past, it could have been maybe you were an experiment at some point. We were used as experiments too.
Right.
So you have those kind of fears that probably come up in people's minds. But it's just a matter of educating, explaining. Even if, like, visually, like for me, if I had known, oh, it's going to be this simple thing, this simple procedure, and I'm done. The hard part was after. Was nothing. That part right there was nothing. The hard part was actually going through the recovery process. But for the person making the donation, that should be nothing for them.
Right.
And the way that I also try to, in my mind, rationalize things, it's like you're basically giving someone life. So to be a little uncomfortable for a short period of time is really nothing compared to what you're giving in the long run. So
I was thinking, what would you tell someone that already donated? Like what would you tell them, like how it helped you or something? Like, how important it is. Like,
well, because I have my own cells, I can't speak in first person about it. But if I think back to that dad that was pleading for the life of his child,
yes,
and you're just watching your child day by day, getting worse. Put yourself in that person's shoes, or put yourself in a relative's shoes that who has a child that's 3 years old that really just needs someone to donate or get on the registry. And the registry doesn't necessarily guarantee you're a match either. But think about it from that perspective. If you try to look at it from your own family's perspective, I think it would move you to action. You wouldn't even think twice about it. So that's what I would suggest.
In my school, I went out and I showed them the PowerPoint, the website, and everything. And it seemed like people were bored. Not a lot of people made donations or to see a story. And if it's just be a match, just say be a match. No, I feel like people need to hear what these stories are, because some people, they just skip through them, like you said. But for me, even if I'm on YouTube, I'll watch it just to watch it. Just be like, wow, that's a story.
Yeah.
And this situation has helped me with that, because I was the kid that would just skip and be get to the video.
Yeah.
But I feel like if we heard more stories and actually knew true like story, and not just like they're fine now, like yay they got a match. No, like if they saw somebody actually suffering from dying and like scared, and it's like wow, like I want to impact somebody like that. So that's how it would attract me. But,
What about things like
I mean, I would be attracted to the before and after. So like before, so like, because there was a big drastic with her, like when she had no hair, when she was skinny, when she was like her color was not there, like maybe before and after she got help or got the bone marrow. Now this is her, like something like that.
Okay.
Because like a lot of us kids, we just if it's like a picture and it's just like oh really bad. And so I was like, oh my gosh, and like my friends would see her sometimes and be like, kind of like whoa.
Yeah.
And people don't know what that's like because they're used to seeing like this and not the real thing.
Right.
So
I would say take it one day at a time. That would be one of the first things. Don't assume things or try to look too far in the future. Just take each day as it comes and deal with each day as it comes, because your I don't know how to describe it other than your victories are going to be small victories. So, I'll give you an example. I was staying in our house. We have a 2-story home. Bedrooms on the 2nd floor. So I would pretty much stay on my 1st floor until I had to absolutely go up the steps. So I would kind of measure my victories by, okay, I'm going to go up the steps once today. The next day or the next 3 days, I might go up twice. So little things like that are victories. They may not seem like it, but at the time, they were victories for me. So you can take something as little as that and make it your, just a gauge for you, your own benchmark. Somebody might use something else as a benchmark, but for me, that was my benchmark until I'm at the point where I'm like running up the steps. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just ran up the steps and I'm okay and I can breathe and I can go do something. So you kind of have to take your own situation and figure out what works for you, because everybody responds differently too. I think in my situation, compared to some others that I've heard, I probably had it a little more smoothly than maybe some other folks. And some people could have reactions to medicine, which can set you back in different ways. And I didn't have situations like that. I had a very supportive family, very supportive group of friends. So I was able to kind of keep myself isolated. I really followed doctor's orders. As much as we may not want to, you have to. And the other thing that was very helpful for me, and I'm assuming wherever they're getting their transplant, they had a calendar, and the doctors were very proactive in saying what to anticipate. So for example, they always said if your temperature gets over a certain amount, you have to come to the hospital, and there's a certain protocol you have to follow. So it's very important that you make sure your temperature doesn't go above whatever, but if it does, you have to come to the hospital. And they were clear to say there's never been one person who hasn't come to the hospital, so it's normal. So because when you first hear that, you're like, oh my God, I can't let my temperature go up too high, or we're monitoring it to be very careful. But to know that, hey, that's part of the process, okay, that's cool. It takes the fear out of that situation. So ask questions too. If you feel like you're not sure about what to anticipate as far as, okay, we're about to do this. What does that look like? What does that feel like? It's okay to ask those questions. And I would say that too. It's important to be your own advocate, because sometimes in the process of doing things like this, it becomes routine for the people that are doing it. Now I can't say that about, in my experience, they were awesome, but it can happen and you don't want to feel like a number in any way. So just make sure you are clear about what's going on with your situation. We're in week 1, we're in week 2. Why am I going to the clinic every day? What's going to happen when I go to the clinic every day? So you kind of know what to expect. And I think understanding expectations clears away some of the fear too.